Looking for pain relief? There's a new invention called Relax the Pain that uses nanotechnology patches to help relieve pain anywhere in your body within seconds. This isn't some pipe dream product. It's available now and already has thousands of happy users. It's not a cure, but it is relief. I highly recommend Relax the Pain patches. Go to www.relaxthepain.com or click on the link below to get patches for up to 50% off today.
That is true. I do not believe he killed President Kennedy.
Did you see him again after the shots?
Yes, I did. I did see him sometime after, a short time after all that.
Well, tell us about that.
Mr. Shelley and Billy went down toward the Triple Underpass to try to find out what actually had gone on down there. But a lady come running up the sidewalk, and she was crying. And so she said they shot the president. Well, I turned to Sarah Stanton, and I said, "What did that lady say?" And she said that they shot the president. And gosh, that was a shock to me. Why would someone want to do that? So stood there for a few minutes, and then I decided I was going to walk down to try to find Mr. Shelley and Billy. Well, I went a short ways, and when I realized there was so much chaos and things going on, I was never going to find them. So I turned around, and I walked back toward the steps, and then I walked past the entrance there to the building to the corner of Houston and Elm. And I was standing there talking to a couple of people, and so I looked to my left, and there I see Lee Oswald walking beside a Texas School Book Depository. He came off the back dock, came around off the back dock, and was walking very nonchalantly, just average walk, no running, no hurry, nothing unusual look on his face. And he was walking toward us. And so I thought he'd probably come right up to the there where I was and cross the street. And he had told me earlier, I noticed when we left early that morning, he did not have his lunch. He always had his lunch when he rode back to Dallas with me. And I asked him, I said, "Lee, you don't have your lunch." He said, "Well," he says, "I'm going to buy it today." Well, I said, "Okay," because I know some guys I work with there, they would buy their lunch off a catering truck who would stop by there on the morning break. And sometimes they'd go out and get something off the truck for break, but then again, they'd also sometimes buy something for lunch. And then we also had a couple of sandwich shops, which was very close from where we worked there. And so when he was walking up, he didn't come right up directly to me. He stopped and went across Houston Street and got into the walk path and across to Houston Street. And then he, once he got across Houston, he made a right and crossed Elm Street. Well, about halfway across Elm Street, these people were standing there by. They said something, and I turned to see who was talking to me. And when I turned back around, I lost him in the crowd. Well, the way he was going, there was a sandwich shop over that way. So I didn't think anything about it. I said, "Well, I guess the boy's going to get him a sandwich."
Are you worried about your online privacy? Well, you should be. Nothing works as well as Virtual Shield VPN. Virtual Shield lets you browse the web completely anonymously. So the big-name internet service providers and their third parties will not be able to monitor and sell your internet activity and browsing history. When using our VPN service, your traffic is routed through our secure and encrypted servers. The good news is it's completely free for 30 days, and we can host Mac, Windows, iPhone, iPad, Android, or Chrome. Personal, family, and business plans are available. Just click on the live link in the description box below for more information.
People were going back into the building, and so being a young boy, I realized I hadn't eaten my lunch. So back into the building and went down in the basement. And by the way, I always kept my lunch down in the basement. It was cool down there 12 months a year. Regardless of how hot it was outside, it was always cool down there.
I just said, right. I can imagine that it would be much cooler in the basement.
After getting inside the building on the first floor, I had gone down to where I kept my lunch in the basement. And what I usually did, I preferred to eat my lunch down there. It was nice and cool. But also during my lunch break, I would be reading or looking at some textbook that I was interested in for one reason or the other, regardless of the subject. And so sometimes I would read while I would eat my lunch. Well, I wasn't down there very long, and I was eating my lunch, and then I looked up, and there was a policeman about 8 feet from me, and looked up, and he says, "Have you seen anybody down here or hear anybody come down here?" I said, "No." I said, "I heard the door open over there," and I said, "I thought maybe one of the guys had come down to get a book or something." And I said, "I didn't pay much attention." So he said, "In other words, you didn't see anyone." I said, "That's correct." So he goes back up to the first floor. I finished eating my lunch, my sandwich and so forth, and it was really quiet. And I said, "It's not normal." I said, I better get up there and see what's going on. And go up to the first floor, and there was quite a few people began to congregate on the first floor. And so I asked a couple people, I said, well, what's going on? Because there's people down there on the first floor that usually were not there. They worked maybe upstairs in one of the offices. And so they said, well, they're getting ready to have a roll call. I said, a roll call? And I said, yes. Well, they started the roll call, and people would answer, and their names were called out. Well, everyone was there but Lee. And so I didn't think anything about it. As I said, I thought he was going to get him a sandwich over at the sandwich shop, because he said he was going to buy his lunch. Mm-hmm. So there wasn't any alarm to me. But after the roll call, Mr. Truly said that due to what had happened out in front of our building, the president being shot, there would be no work that afternoon. We would meet back on Monday, and we would resume normal activity and shipping and filling the orders and so forth. So we were told that we were dismissed for the rest of the day. And so I left, and I walked down, and I got in my car, and I was headed home back to Irving. And as I said, I listened to the radio a lot and music. And so when I was going out to Irving, I looked at my watch, and I said, early, I said, I can go by and check on my stepfather, who was in the hospital there in Irving. He had had a heart attack. So I said, I'll go by there and check on him for my mother. Well, during the listen to the music, there was a break, and they said that they had arrested a man over in Oakville, part of Dallas.
Summer's almost here, and for most of us that means costly air conditioning bills. That's why I keep a portable AC on my desk. It's small enough so that I can move it between my desk and my bedroom, and it uses a USB port for power. I can't recommend this air conditioner enough, and that's why they're giving my audience 50% off on their own mini AC. Go to www.easysummercool.com or click the link in the description box below for more info.
So they said they had captured a person, and they were taking him downtown. Well, I never thought anything about Lee being involved in anything like that. So I stopped by the hospital, then the phone rings. And I answered the phone there in the room, and it was at the nurse's station. And so she says, can you come up here to the nurse's station and take the call? I told her what I was doing. I said, I'll be there very shortly. As I began to step out into the hallway, I was grabbed by two plainclothes detectives, and they threw me up against the wall.
Oh, wow.
Very abruptly. And I didn't know what was going on. I said, what are you doing? I said, who are you? I said, why are you doing this to me? And they said, well, we're Dallas detectives, and we're arresting you. So they were going to put the cuffs on me. And I told them, I said, you don't have to do that. And I said, I'll go with you to the police station, and we'll get you straightened out. And I said, I'll be on my way. And so they said, well, we're going downtown. So we get in a car, and we get down Dallas at the police headquarters. And so they told me when we were down in the basement, they said, now we'll be going upstairs. So there's going to be a lot of reporters that don't say anything, just keep your mouth shut. I said, okay. And so I did that. And they led me into a room where they began to interrogate me. The two detectives that arrested me started interrogating me, and this went on for a couple of hours, intense interrogation. And as Detective Rose and Detective Stovall were their names. So after a couple of hours, then they switch off, and another set of detectives come in, and they start the same thing. Same question over and over and over. This goes on for another couple of hours.
What was
2.5 hours.
What were they asking you?
Well, they were trying. It was asking questions, trying to implement me or make me part of what had happened earlier in the day, the assassination of John F. Kennedy. They go out, and then the original two detectives come back in, and they start in on me. And again, same question.
Collagen is the most abundant protein in your body and is essentially the glue that holds you together. In fact, after age 20, people produce 12% less collagen in their skin each decade. Collagen depletion is what makes you look old. Most collagen supplements do not provide the hydrolyzed bioactive collagen peptides that enable your body to digest collagen properly, plus it tastes badly. BioTrust gives you the 5 most available kinds of collagens that dissolve easily in hot or cold liquids with 0 taste. You can add it to your coffee, tea, or smoothies, or even baked goods recipes. So to look and feel younger fast, go to www.healthwithbill.com.
Did you know at this time that Lee had been arrested? Was that known? Did you know that?
No.
No. So you didn't know he was implicated at all?
Yeah, matter of fact, he was at the other end of the long hall where I was. They were doing the same thing to him.
But you did not know that?
No, I did not.
At the time? At the time?
So,
okay.
And then the next person who walks in is Captain Will Fritz. He's head of homicide. So he comes in, and he has a tight piece of paper, and he puts it down in front of me. He gives me a pen and says, sign this. But I was always told you don't sign anything until you know what you're signing. So I started to read this, and what it was a confession that I was part of the assassination of John F. Kennedy. And I said, I'm not signing this. I said, this is ridiculous. Well, he was standing to my left. So he draws his hand up to hit me, and I put my left arm up to block. And I told him, I said, there's some policemen outside of that door over there. And I said, before they get in there, you and I are going to have a hell of a fight. Because I've got angry then. Because I realized that they was trying to make me admit to something that I never would even think of in my wildest dreams of doing something that bad. He snatches the paper and the pen and walks out. and I have never seen him until this day.
And these were all Dallas police officers. There were no Secret Service, no FBI. It was all Dallas police officers.
And how did you know that Lee was at the other end of the hall?
He didn't.
Well, I didn't at that time, but I found out since then. But I didn't know it at that time, no. So then they said that they were going to take me home. We go down to the basement, get in the police car, and we're going out to Irving. So they get a call to bring me back. So they turn around, and we go back to the police station. When we get up there, then they said what they want. I had to take a polygraph test. I had to take that. They did a mug shot, and I did fingerprinting. Well, I passed my polygraph test. Time all this happened, this was after midnight on Friday into Saturday morning. And so after doing all that, then they decided to let me go home. They had gone back to the hospital area where my car was, where they arrested me. And my sister and I got in, and we went home. We drove to where my sister's home was. So that was a very, very long day. Much longer than I ever would dream of that happening.
Johnny's got a question for you.
Hey, on Monday, after that, all that happened, on the next Monday, did you go back to work?
I did. I went back to work just like I normally would, and I returned back to work there at the Texas School Book Depository, and we picked up normal operations, but it wasn't the same. It was no one was talking. Everybody was really shocked at what had happened.
Yeah.
But there was no
where we worked. And also what was more shocking was that they had arrested and killed one of the people that we worked with.
But at the school book depository, it was no crime scene. There were no police there. It was just like it was before the assassination.
That Monday and the rest of the week, there was policemen and so forth in and out of the building there to talk to Mr. Trulli and Mr. Shelley. But we tried to resume normal activities, but it's a little hard, but we got around and got that accomplished. Still, the people just couldn't believe what had happened and what was being said. And what people have to remember, if you visit Dallas, Texas, and the Texas School Book Depository, which is now called the 6th Floor Museum, if you will notice to the right of the steps that goes into the front entrance of the building there, you have to notice there's a plaque on the wall. And it says that Lee Harvey Oswald is the alleged assassin.
Mm-hmm.
And what people have to remember is that Lee Oswald never appeared in a court of law before a judge and a jury. Right. Matter of fact, Lee was never convicted of anything.
Right.
But so many people write these books and they say that he did that. Well, you ask yourself, well, where are they getting their information? They never talked to the man. They never observed him. There wasn't anything around him. So their information is hearsay. I'm not saying what they're saying is incorrect, but I ask myself, how can they be so strong in their minds and the words they put on paper that they say he did this when they didn't see him do anything?
Well, and one of the things that I've read is that, after the shooting, that he fled the building. Well, you said they took roll, but there was no reason for him to go back because y'all got off work, right?
Yes, and the thing is, as I said earlier, I thought he was going off to one of the sandwich shops and then he would be back.
So they took roll and then they let you off for the rest of the day.
That is correct.
And so somewhere along the line there, when Lee went to lunch, he ran into Officer J.B. Tibbet, and he shot Tibbet, and then he ran into a movie theater to try to hide. Is that the basic sequence?
Well, that's what's being said. That when he left the Texas School Book Depository, he went up Elm Street and he caught a bus and trying to go back out to Beckley where he lived there at the rooming house, and the traffic was so bad that he gets off of the bus and he gets a thing from the bus driver saying that he could ride the bus again for the amount that he paid. So he walks down Lamar Street to where the Greyhound bus station was and still is today, and he gets into a cab, and the cab driver takes him over to Beckley Street, not exactly in front there where he lived, but up past where he lived, and gets out, and he goes in and goes into the rooming house, and he changes and gets a different jacket, and he leaves, and then that's when he ends up over by Texas Theater on Jefferson Avenue, but before he gets to the theater, that's where he's reportedly had shot and killed J.D. Tippit. And he ends up after the incident with Tippit, then he ends up in the Texas Theater, and that's where they capture him.
Well, Tippit didn't have any idea who he was, did he?
Well, maybe.
That I do not know. Because he dove back in those times. They did have police radios.
They'd taken roll, and he was the only one missing, so they certainly would have gotten his description and put out an APB at that time, and Tibbet saw him. Well, how did you find out that Oswald was down the hall being interviewed?
The detectives told us that.
The what?
But I didn't know it. The detectives, the ones that arrested me.
Oh, when they tell you?
When they was taking me back to my sister and I back to Irving, we found.
Oh, they told you then?
At the time being.
Oh, was that one of the questions they were asking you about Lee Oswald? Did you know him, etc.?
Oh, well, they knew that he worked with me.
Did they question any other employees, or were you the only one that was interrogated?
I'm sure they did. I'm sure they did, and to what extent, I don't know.
You didn't talk about it on Monday when you went back to work?
No, we didn't talk hardly at all because we were so shocked at what had transpired on Friday afternoon.
Well, as far as you know, were you and Lee the only people that worked, of the 12 people that you worked with at the book depository? Were you the only ones that were arrested?
Arrested, yes, but there was others that were questioned.
Yeah.
But not arrested. Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, Lee would ride out with him on weekends, so that was probably it. You were probably seen as the person that knew Lee the best, right?
Well, we worked together very closely. Yes, I can understand that.
Yes, did you work on the 6th floor at all?
I worked on any floor from the basement to the 7th floor.
So did you ever see the shooter's nest that was supposedly built up there?
Well, I didn't go up there after that day. On that Friday, I didn't go up there because, there's so many policemen and things looking and checking and everything. I just went home. And the thing is, the sniper's nest and stuff that they said was up there, I don't know where it's exactly the way it was because I didn't go up there and look that Friday. And there was so much stuff going on in the building there. I can't tell you how things exactly looked there.
Right.
But we were doing work on that floor, we were putting down plywood to strengthen the floor, and they were moving boxes all around, so they wouldn't always in necessarily where they were supposed to be, because they was putting down plywood to strengthen the floors, as I said. But,
well, when the detectives were questioning you, did they give you any idea about, I mean, the President of the United States had just been shot. This is a couple hours later, and they have decided that Lee Harvey Oswald shot him. And so they're questioning you because you know him. It seems like it's awfully quick to settle on one suspect when there was so much confusion.
Yes, I can understand where you derive at that. But that's what they did.
Okay.
Why they did that, I don't know.
And so have you ever tried to figure out why it was that they slapped a fake confession in front of you?
Well, sir, you won't believe how many times I've been back of those times in 50-something years. You know, I do a lot of time traveling. Sometimes when I'm by myself and I'm really quiet, my wife knows where I am. I'm always looking for answers.
I would assume they put the same kind of confession in front of Lee Harvey Oswald.
That I do not know.
Yeah. Do you remember anything about the confession? I mean, did it say that you were conspiring with Lee Harvey Oswald or anything like that? Or did you just look at it and go, oh my gosh, I'm not going to sign this?
Well, I started to read it, and I only read a sentence or two, but it did take you very quickly to find out that they were trying to make me sign a confession that I was part of that and knew about it, and that's the farthest thing from the truth.
Yeah.
I was not. I wasn't going to sign or admit to anything that I had not done.
Yeah.
Would it be possible that maybe Lee brought the gun in on two different days, and so one part was on Thursday, and then the second part was on a Friday?
Well, no, that couldn't happen, because the package I actually saw on my glanced at on the back seat of my car, you couldn't put the stock or the barrel in there. They were both too long. We'd gone over that earlier.
So
that's not possible.
It was clearly curtain rods.
Well, some people may laugh about that. He told me they were curtain rods, and we talked earlier about that if someone you work with has never lied to you about anything, why would you doubt them?
Right.
Right.
Well, is there anything else that you think is important for us to know about and include in this?
I've always told the truth. When I was questioned by the police department, and when I testified before the Warren Commission in Washington, D.C., I always told them the truth. And when people read my testimony and so forth, and in my new book, Steering Truth, which can be you can acquire it it's carried by Amazon, Barnes & Noble. Currently have out the hardback, and it's also available in the ebook format. And I hope you enjoy the book, and hopefully the people that do that, maybe they'll have a little better understanding of the things that I've gone through before as a young boy, and then coming to Dallas, and what my life has been like since. That thing ruined my life. Mm-hmm. And I've had to live with that.
And
no matter what you do, some people is going to believe you, and some people is going to say, "Oh no, that's not the truth." Well, the thing is, you have to remember, you can't tell anyone or explain anything to someone that doesn't want to listen.
What led you to write the book now? I mean, that was it's all happened an awfully long time ago.
It did. And for so many years, I tried to speak up, but nobody wanted to listen, because I was just a dumb little country boy from a rural area that came to the big city and got caught up in the crime of the century.
Yeah.
How that happened, I don't know. It did. I'm not ashamed of anything. I'm not ashamed of who I am. And so finally I realized that there were so many people out there trying to tell my story who had never talked to me, but they gave the reader of their magazine or their book that they know me very well. A lot of these people, I wouldn't know them if I passed them on the street. I never talked to them. And so I decided that it's time that people hear from me and hear my story, not my story being told for me by someone else who I do not even know.
Thank you for doing that. I think it's an important part of history.
It's a very important part of history. It's an irreplaceable part of history, and we'll enjoy reading the book. When was the book published?
It's come out this year.
Well, now you have found your voice.
Well, thank you very much, Buell. Thank you very much, and we'll get this out and do something good with it.
And maybe it'll help you sell a few books.
So I do have a webpage. It's Facebook. On Facebook, it's Buell Wesley Frazier.
Okay, well, thank you very much. That was a very interesting interview with Buell Wesley Frazier. So I just thought we'd spend just a couple minutes here talking about it. I know everybody's got something to say, but I want to preface this with something that I've spent a lot of time on the Kennedy assassination thing. I thought the most interesting thing in the whole interview was when he had a pre-written confession slapped in front of him. I think that was the highlight of the interview, because that's not the way cops work. I mean, Johnny's a newspaper guy, been a newspaper guy for 30 years. I was a newspaper guy for, I don't know how long, but a long time. And you learn, you have more dealings with the police than the average person does. And this is not the way police work is normally done. This is set up, fake, whatever, conspiracy type of stuff that was the hallmark of the whole Kennedy assassination. And
along with that confession, Bill, I thought it was really interesting that here was someone who had given Lee Harvey Oswald a ride to work that day, and a couple hours after the assassination, he was being arrested. I mean, he wasn't being brought in for questioning, he wasn't being brought in to as a witness or anything. He was arrested, according to what he said, and taken down to the police station and questioned as someone who had just been arrested for being involved in this.
And literally strong-armed by a detective who tried to hit him. He was going to rough him up to make him sign a pre-written confession. That's just off the charts.
Well, It was also pretty amazing to me how quickly they honed in on Lee Harvey Oswald.
Well, it's something I meant to look up and I just forgot to, but I know there is video existent of Lee Harvey Oswald coming through that basement of the police, wherever it is, headquarters, where who ultimately was shot. And I forget exactly whether it was there or some other time when Oswald spurted out, "I'm just the patsy."
Yeah.
And he had, he definitely had connections in Cuba. He was probably connected to this whole assassination team thing that the CIA was into. And this is the main thing I want to get to, because my assassination, I've done about 15 of these stories just on my channel, and they're very evergreen. They get a lot of hits going on into history. And I just want to tell people, providing that this actually does survive for some amount of time, and I think maybe YouTube has turned a corner a little bit. I'm hopeful, but I'm just talking to future generations that the fear around the Kennedy assassination has been very real and has gone on for years and years and years. And you might think that the list of Hillary Clinton people who died under mysterious conditions is large, but the Kennedy assassination is larger and much more significant if you count in how many were significant witnesses to the fact in one way or another. A lot of these people died under mysterious circumstances. And I think that this all came from a CIA operation during the Vietnam War, which is called the Phoenix Program. It was the assassination program. And that's really where America got off the rails, when they gave the right to assassinate people that they didn't have to ask Congress or the president or anybody else. The intelligence community just decided this person is worthy of assassination and we're going to kill him. And that Phoenix program came home to roost in the United States when it came to the Kennedy assassination. And at one time, my friends and I used to like to, on a Saturday night, because we didn't have much to do on a Saturday night, we drive down to Dulles Airport and hang out in the reception area, the basement of the terminal. And, you know, nobody bothered. You could do it, walk through the airport, do whatever you want, go down where the international flights came in and other late night flights came in. And we were down there hanging out. And you meet a lot of interesting people. And Shirley Chisholm came through. Johnny, you probably know who Shirley is.
Yeah.
But she was honest to the core. She was even though she was from, I think, Brooklyn or some part of around the metro New York City area, but she was very eloquent and spoke the truth typically. And so I just said, okay, well, I'm going to go up and ask Shirley Chisholm, because this is when it was under debate whether or not Congress is going to re-look at the Kennedy assassination, because so much evidence had come out. People had been killed trying to get evidence out. It was a big fight. And so I just went up and said, this, and as far as I know, this was about 1975. And I went up and asked Shirley Chisholm, I said, Representative Chisholm, when do you think Congress is going to approve taking another look at the Kennedy assassination? And that woman almost became white with fright. I mean, she was scared to death that somebody she'd never seen came up and asked her that question in the basement of Dulles Airport. You know, like, you know, I was going to bump her off next or something like that. And I said, I'm okay. But I just want to tell future generations that this was nasty business and created a lot of fear. And that's kind of what let the Clintons slip into Washington and start, you know, the continuation of this nasty business. And, you know, this is how this all got off track, how America got so far off track. And now I'm sorry for that long-winded thing, but y'all can go ahead.
Well, hold it. Did Shirley Chisholm answer the question?
Yes, she said, I don't think we want to mess with that. I don't think we want to open that can of worms. And I was really disappointed with that answer. You know, I expected her to say, you know, being a straight shooter, yeah, we're going to get those guys or something like that. But she was scared to death and didn't want any part of it.
But Congress did have a second investigation.
They did. And that started in 1976. And it was actually a very good investigation. And they found things like one of the police motorcycle guys had his radio keyed open during the shots. And they constructed this very elaborate mathematical model and determined, you know, zeroed in on where the shots came from. And the grassy knoll was one of those places. So it was an honest look at the assassination.
Well, Buell did say that two of the shots seemed closer to him than one of them. There were three shots, and two of them, I think he said, sounded like they were closer than the other one. And at first I thought he meant time-wise, like more rapid to gather. But then when he said it again, he indicated that it sounded like one of the shots had actually occurred farther away from him than the other two.
Right, that was the first shot from the grassy knoll, and then the other two theoretically were from the 6th floor of the book depository, but those weren't the killer shots. The killer shots is what's captured in the Zapruder film, where it jerks his head back. And then during the Warren Commission, they brought some expert up on goats, and now they tested this on goats. And yes, if somebody fired a shot in the back of the head of the goat's head would jerk back towards the direction of the bullet, and everybody just went, "Oh my God, they're trying to legitimize this stupid."
Well, one of the things that I found interesting in the interview with Buell was the fact that they went back to work on Monday.
Yeah.
The President of the United States was assassinated on Friday, and it wasn't cordoned off. There was no, nothing. And they were back at work on Monday. That was one. And the other part of that I found interesting was they didn't talk about it. Now, I don't know whether, as he said, they were also stunned. The President of the United States was assassinated in front of your building, supposedly by someone with whom you worked. You were questioned yourself, and nobody at work.
And then by that time, the Oswald had been assassinated in the basement of the headquarters of the police.
Right,
on live TV.
Right. And this was not a topic of discussion. I'm not so sure about the "we were so stunned" thing. I think it may have been the fear factor. He himself had been interrogated, and they tried to get him to sign a confession. They may have been terrified that if they talked about it, they might be further implicated. Somebody might have been a plant of the FBI in their building. I don't know. But it just seemed extraordinary to me that they didn't talk about it.
He was a 19-year-old kid from the country, probably, very capable of taking care of himself. And if he had not kind of fought back against that detective, that detective probably would have beat him up, right then and there, and tried to force him to sign that confession. I think that's the most important thing he had to say.
But the other thing, especially about him not talking about it on Monday, I mean, he was the only one that was arrested. And as far as he knew, he was the only one that was questioned, which is even more bizarre. I mean, it seems like if you think it was someone at the book depository, you wouldn't just question the person who drove him to work that morning. You would question the people he was working with, who he saw right before lunch when he disappeared, and then talking about the building wasn't cordoned off. They didn't even have the window cordoned off. I mean, everything on Monday was just, according to Buell, was just like it always was. And if you needed to pick up books on the 6th floor, you just went up there and picked them up. The fact that, according to the official story, that the President of the United States had just been shot from that window. They didn't even, I mean, you'd think they'd have a little bit more physical investigation than whatever they could do.
Well, no, their job was just to try to get somebody to confess to it, case closed, and then the agency would be happy and off the hook.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I think one of the other interesting things was when you were talking, Johnny, about the fact that when Buell had said that Lee Harvey Oswald would never shoot anybody, would never hurt anybody. He was a very gentle person. He played with children, and yet he shot the policeman. Now, why would he have reason to shoot the police? Why would the police have reason to suspect? This was just right after the assassination. And I was curious about that part.
I think it's because Oswald immediately knew he was the patsy. I mean, he had worked in this environment. He knew that their modus operandi was to set somebody up as the patsy in assassinations. And, you know, he might not have figured it all out until all of a sudden it happened and somebody who he knew gave him the wink just before, something like that. And so suddenly he knew that, you know, that this assassination game, he was part of it, whether he wanted to be part of it or not.
And did he shoot the policeman?
That's unknown. I think there's also a theory that somebody else did.
I was just wondering if there were witnesses, or I mean, it's part of the story, but so much of the story is not true. It's hard to know what is.
What is true. Yeah, there's so many different theories out there and so many different forensic examinations by people. I don't know that we will ever really fully know the truth.
Bill, there was some information that was supposed to be released after 50 years and they decided not to release it. Isn't that correct?
Correct.
Yeah, 50 years and 75 years. That was the autopsy of the brain.
Oh.
Right.
And also the brain disappeared. You know, brains do disappear.
They grow legs and walk away.
But, you know, I interviewed the guy, the only living person who was present at the JFK autopsy. And I have yet to edit, to my disgrace, I have yet to edit that video down and put it up. But now maybe this will make me do it.
What did he say? I mean, is there any tidbit from that you can give us?
Yeah, there's no question that the shot came from the front.
From the back, from the front. Oh, front. Right.
And the shots from the book Depository hit Jack in the back, like just near the right shoulder blade, as I remember, and maybe another one in the neck, but it did not hit him in the head.
And where did the magic bullet come from?
That's what I was just getting ready to say.
the book Depository. The killer shot was from the grassy knoll.
And that's the one
that struck him right in the temple, knocked back, blew a chunk of his head, his skull back out onto the roadway, and a chunk of his brain back onto the back of the trunk of the car. And that's what you see Jackie scrambling to get back to the trunk of the car. She was trying to retrieve her husband's